What's up, everybody? We're coming back with an Always Train Faith edition. We just wrapped up a sermon series at one church called Clear the Stage, and we're starting another one called What is God Like, or What's God Like? And the last one in that one series and the first one in this new series, there's a couple things that I picked up on in there that kind of mesh together that I'm going to share with you guys today. So in the recent Clear the Stage sermon, Pastor Greg drew a chart, and on that chart it said, life happens, thoughts are formed, decisions are made, and then actions taken. And it's an escalating chart. It actually looks a little bit like this. Hope you guys can get some kind of view, or I really need to get a whiteboard in here. So this hit me in terms of the decision-making process whenever life happens. So you name it, whatever's going to happen or come up in life that maybe causes disruption, causes some waves, or even maybe something good that happens, right? We go through this process no matter what decision it is that we have to make. And then the question was posed, at what point do you actually want to bring God into this equation, right? At what point is it going to be smart to pull God in, to pray about it, to read the Bible about making a decision, thinking about what you're going to do, and any kind of decisions you're going to make or actions you're going to take based off of what's kind of happened in your life. One of the other questions that Greg asked, which I thought was very important, is when you get to that actions taken point, if you bring God into the equation at that point, are you just basically asking God to co-sign on whatever it is that your gut reaction was, right? Whatever it is that you just decided to do in terms of how you felt, or you made an emotional decision. If you're bringing God in that late, you've already taken the action, you can do that. And I'm not going to say that God can't work with that in some way, but in effect, you're just kind of asking him to co-sign on it, like say, hey, make this decision I made okay. So ideally, the place you're going to want to bring God into the equation is when life happens, or right after life happens. So really, this is getting back to your daily walk with the Lord. So your daily getting into the Word of God and praying, right? The Bible tells us to pray without ceasing. The Bible also tells us that the Word of God is living and active, sharper than any two-edged sword, right? So these are our two weapons to use and to utilize when life happens, so that the thoughts we start to form and the decisions we start to make and the actions that we take are going to be godly, are going to be Christ-like, right? Those are the things that we want to make sure that we are constantly staying in vein with and staying in line with in order to make the right decisions and the right actions. At the same time, we should also have other people, a mentor, somebody that you can run things by. If you're not checking yourself in terms of the thoughts formed and your decisions you're starting to make on anything that happens in your life, in your business, and wherever it is, and you're not checking in with somebody else to make sure that those are good decisions or that those are the right decisions based on how you feel and based on the actions you're going to take based on how you feel, I would say you're headed down the wrong path, and you're heading down the road of making probably the wrong decision. Now, from the series on What's God Like, Greg brought up a great point. Pastor Greg brought up a great point of how the enemy can use the Word of God in the wrong way. So while we're reading in the Bible, while we're staying in tune, while we're praying and doing all those things, the enemy can still attempt to use the Word of God in a way that's going to damage or harm you. And an example of that would be if life happens, like let's say you do something wrong. You harm a friend, you mess up at work, whatever it might be. You do something that you regret, you wish wouldn't have happened, and you stumbled in some way. So the enemy could easily use the Word of God to make you start to form thoughts about yourself that are super negative. You can start to make decisions about yourself that you're irredeemable based on your mistakes, and there's no way that you're going to fix a relationship. There's no way you're going to come back from the mistake that you made, and then the actions that you take as a result of that, either shutting things off, closing yourself out, not stepping back into some line of life that you feel like you've been closed out of. The enemy could definitely use the Word of God in that way to make you believe those things about yourself. But that's not true. And the enemy does this to Jesus in Matthew 4, where he starts quoting the Bible to Jesus to try to make him sin, to try to make him do things that Jesus knows that he's not supposed to do. He knows it's not part of his mission. So while there are those verses in the Bible that point out a way that we should live, and they condemn other things in ways that we should that we might act, that doesn't mean that that's what's true of you if you happen to fall into one of those traps, if you happen to fall into some sort of sin, right? There is no sin that the blood of Christ doesn't cover. That's something that you should never forget. That's a truth about the Bible. You were also perfectly and wonderfully made, right? So if those two things are true, you do not need to live in a life of condemnation in that respect. So to wrap up, staying in the Word of God, praying, staying in contact, practicing His presence, those are all things that are going to help you stay on the right track in all of the thoughts you're going to form about yourself, the decisions you're going to make, or the actions you're going to take throughout your daily life. Hope this was helpful. If you guys got any more questions, throw them down in the comments below. Remember to like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.